Ta-da! In front of me is Apple's very first battery-powered computer called the Macintosh Portable. Before I show you all the neat upgrades I have installed, let's take a look back at some Apple history. The excellent book Keep It Simple by Hartmut Esslinger tells us that in 1982, Steve Jobs sought to obtain world-class design agency talent by way of a competition named Snow White. The Seven Dwarfs became the code names for products under development. Esslinger's frog design ultimately won, and the first product incorporating the Snow White design ethos was the Apple IIc in 1984. Frog Design continued producing Apple IIc revisions that included flat panel displays, as well as very slick and forward-thinking designs for the new Macintosh line called MacBook. One MacBook design in particular bears strong resemblance to what later became the Macintosh Portable. With a trackball sitting next to a full-sized keyboard, the Snow White vertical line design language molded into the case behind the keyboard and incorporating a flat panel display at back with wide bezels on either side. 5 very long years later, in 1989, the Macintosh Portable was finally released. Featuring a Snow White-inspired design, trackball, and no compromises full-size mechanical keyboard, it was the world's first computer to incorporate an active matrix LCD, which we call TFT today. The machine was housed in a durable polycarbonate case, had an internal floppy drive, and offered a low-power 40 megabyte hard drive as an add-on option, and even included a soft carrying case. Apple Products President Jean-Louis Gasset demonstrated on stage how the Portable could be completely assembled without using a single screw, which was and still is a pretty incredible feat of engineering. The sealed lead-acid battery was a quantum leap beyond other notebooks and portables of the day, offering up to 12 hours of runtime.
What is in terms of things, the basics like a battery life, price, things like that?
Well, the battery life also is a major breakthrough. With existing portables, typically 3 hours is an average battery life. This machine has 10 to 12.
Well, it's a lead acid, not a NiCad, right?
Right.
The Macintosh Portable even impressed NASA, who launched it into orbit on 2 separate space shuttle missions in 1990 and 1991.
We used a Macintosh computer and 4 different kinds of cursor control devices. Jim Adamson, Shannon Lucid, and myself evaluated those throughout the mission.
The Portable was also used to send the first email from space. It alerted the crew when it was time to do experiments, and even showed the shuttle's position on a world map. The Portable was one of the most highly anticipated Macs and welcomed by the Mac faithful, even though it didn't wow anyone with its bulkiness. Kodak regularly showed the Portable in its print advertising for mobile printers. Portables also appeared in the TV series Twin Peaks, and in movies like Water Dance, and the Jodie Foster film Little Man Tate.
Oh, Fred, what was the name of that computer that you raced in Dr. Ellis's class?
Mike?
Even Macintosh project founder Jeff Raskin owned a Portable.
The other day I hooked up, networked my Portable to another Mac that I have. Whenever you turn off the main Mac, the dialog box appears on all the other machines on the network saying it's gone off, goes down. So the Portable won't shut itself off, so it'll run down its batteries. You know, little things like that.
And while the Portable was derided for its weight and size, it was comparable to other battery-powered machines of the day in terms of price, weight, performance, and size. In fact, only a few months earlier in May 1989, the newest mobile computers were bulkier and more expensive than the Portable.
This is equivalent to an IBM AT. This is a 12 megahertz 286. It's got a 287 socket. It's got a 20 megabyte hard drive.
Keith, and I want you to tell us a little bit about the 5200. That's your highest end machine, isn't it?
20 megahertz 386. It comes with either a 100 megabyte hard drive or a 40. This is a VGA compatible 16 grayscale gas plasma display. AC only.
What's the prices here on these 3 machines we've seen, Keith?
This one's list price at $49.99. This one goes for $95 or 11 grand,
okay,
depending on the drive.
Kevin?
$79.99 without modem, 2 megabytes, 40 megabyte hard disk, and $84.99 with a...
Gentlemen, thank you.
It's especially striking to see just how similar the Atari Stacy 2 is compared to the Mac Portable. Note the full-size mechanical keyboard at left with trackball at right. The back is quite thick, and there's a floppy drive on the right side too. It even has a handle. The Stacy 2 weighs about the same as the Mac Portable, and it went on sale about the same time too. Apple's HyperCard stack describing the Mac Portable mentions 4 mobile computer categories governed by weight and power source. The Mac Portable was not designed to be a laptop or notebook, largely because of Apple's desire to make a no-compromise Mac with the best tech available at the time.
And we wanted absolutely no compromise, full-function Macintosh without any compromise, no Mac Jr., no compromise.
But even if you didn't mind the size and weight back in 1989, the price was still quite high for the typical Mac buyer at $5,799 with 1 megabyte of RAM and floppy drive, or $64.99 with 40 megabyte hard drive. Adding an internal modem set you back an additional $449. And while the Portable certainly did have its detractors back in the day, most of the extremely negative opinions about the Portable have been published in the last couple decades. Like this one from Time, which brashly calls it totally awful. The author even trashes Time for having written upbeat words back in 1989 saying that, despite the negatives, experts believe the Mac is likely to be a walkaway success. The author ends by mentioning a 2006 article by PC World, which called the Portable the 17th worst tech product ever made. Ah yes, PC World. As if there was never any kind of rivalry between the Mac and PC.
Apple has decided to make Internet Explorer its default browser on the Macintosh.
But people who actually used a Portable back in the day often have a very positive view of the machine. Frank Conforti, who authored several CAD-related articles for Mac User magazine from 1987 to 1988, told me he wrote his first book on the Portable in 1989, which went on to sell 60,000 copies and was a pivotal part of his life. I also read a story from Craig Weiland reflecting on when he was a freshman in college in 1990, which just happens to be when I was a freshman in college. Craig said he couldn't afford a Mac that year, but when he saw a guy whip out a Mac Portable in the campus computer lab, he knew he had to have one. His parents helped him buy a Mac Portable the following year, and he loved it despite the weight. He says it's not fair to compare the Portable with smaller and lighter Macs that came later, and he strenuously disagrees with the naysayers who deride the machine today. He closes by mentioning the Portable's beauty, and that it had the best tech of its day. But by April 1990, Apple acknowledged that prices hovering around $6,000 were a hard pill to swallow, even for the most ardent Mac buyers. First quarter Portable sales were between 8,000 and 10,000 units, compared to 70,000 to 80,000 Mac SEs. Apple slashed Portable prices by a hefty $1,000. Only a few months later, sales of the price-reduced Portable had slowed to only 1,000 units per month, compared to 6,000 units per month of the Mac SE30 and 6,000 per month of the Mac 2 CX. In February 1991, Apple made the Portable more attractive by releasing the Backlit model 5126. Backlighting made the machine easier to see in dim lighting and offered more bang for the buck too, selling for $41.99 with 2 megabytes of RAM and 40 megabyte hard disk, or $46.99 for 4 megabytes of RAM and hard disk. Apple was able to bring the price down by replacing the battery-friendly but extremely expensive static RAM with pseudo-static RAM. Apple made other improvements too, including the use of quiet key switches. There were 3 types of ALPS key switches used, and I confirmed that my own 5126 Backlit Portable has the cream-colored ivory switches that are truly nice on the ears. But despite Apple's best efforts, by July 1991, prices for the Backlit 240 configuration had fallen to just under $3,000. A great price for Portable buyers at the time, but also a clear sign the Portable wouldn't be around much longer. 3 months later, it was discontinued.
Game over, man! Game over!
I honestly didn't care what the naysayer said back in the day. I wanted a Mac Portable, but as a college student, I just couldn't afford it. Even so, I always thought it to be a fascinating machine that laid the important foundation for what we have today. Just like the Lisa, the Mac Portable was a first. Without the Lisa, we may not have had the Mac. And without the Portable, Apple's first small and light notebooks may not have been the smashing success they ultimately proved to be.
We all saw the Mac Portable when it first came out a couple of years ago, and there were a couple of problems. It wasn't quite what everybody wanted it to be, I guess. What were the problems you were addressing in the new PowerBook series?
Well, we wanted to make all these products notebook products, so get them down in size
Smaller.
and weight. Macintosh PowerBook 100, the most affordable Macintosh PowerBook. It's also the lightest at 5.1 pounds, $22.99 for the base configuration. Then here the PowerBook 140, a little bit more performance than the PowerBook 100, has an internal floppy drive, weighs 6.8 pounds. Base configuration is $28.99. Then the top of the line, the high performance Macintosh PowerBook 170, it also weighs 6.8 pounds, has an internal floppy drive, features a active matrix display, $45.99.
Here's our new keyboard. As you can see, it's much thinner, saves about a ½ inch in height, and saves about 3/4 of a pound.
RAM card that works with the Macintosh Portable.
And here's the RAM expansion card for the PowerBook. This is our new form factor, 2.5 inch hard disk.
Finally, the logic board of the Macintosh Portable.
And here we have it for the PowerBook 170. You can see you can see the difference.
I got a personal laser writer. As you can see, the PowerBook 100 is 8.5 by 11, so there's some commonality here, and that's in the paper tray, which contains the PowerBook 100.
You are about to witness a revolution called PowerBook. It will let you run MS-DOS software. It will let you run Macintosh software. It will let you run away.
Here's my Portable fully disassembled. When putting it back together, I'll give you a closer look at the parts and describe the repairs and upgrades. Please note that I've created a very detailed spreadsheet for you that provides a lot of technical detail. Be sure to click the tabs at the bottom because they take you to other pages filled with info. You'll find a link to this spreadsheet in the video description. This is the Active Matrix LCD. It's 640 by 400 pixel resolution. Just like the first CRT Macs, it's black and white. No color, no shades of gray. But it produces a very nice, crisp picture. The panel was made by Hoshiden in Japan, model number HLR 1011-10-1121. Take a look at all these row and column driver chips. These chips alone probably cost Apple several $100s per panel back in the day. This high-tech LCD was a big reason why the Portable was so expensive. You can tell I have the backlit model because of this metal cover here on the side. I removed the two plastic rivets that hold it in place, allowing me to slide the diffuser out. I can then remove the metal cover. We can now see the delicate CCFL glass backlight tube wrapped in a reflective sheet that channels all of the light of the tube into the side of this diffuser, which is either made of glass or acrylic. By the way, CCFL just means it's a fluorescent glass tube and not LED. I measured its diameter to be 5 millimeters, and the length of the paper-wrapped part, excluding these two end caps, is 14.4 centimeters. My backlight is very dim, and I think it needs a tube replacement, but I can't remove this paper that's wrapped around it without harming the paper itself, and that's because the paper is glued down, and then it has this tape on top of it as well, just to be sure, and the tape is partially coming off, but it's really the glue that's holding it down, which is why I can't take it off without harming it. Sadly, the end caps are heat shrinked with what seems to be glue inside, so cutting them off may be difficult. I'm still pondering what to do. Let me know if you have any ideas. Here's a close-up of the top of the diffuser panel, which you can see is very rough in texture to provide a very nice diffused light behind the LCD. But the problem with this kind of diffuser is that if you turn off the backlight, any room lighting that hits the LCD will get diffused into this reflector, making the screen very hard to see, even under bright lighting. The 5120 model has a reflective back and not a diffuser, so it's much easier to see that screen in good lighting. CCFL backlight tubes require high voltage to illuminate, and this is the inverter board that drives it. I recapped it myself using solid radial tantalum capacitors at C201 and C206. This is the ribbon cable that connects the inverter to the LCD and then to the motherboard. It's grown quite stiff through the years, but the good news is that we can now buy replacements from Joe's Computer Museum if it cracks. And now everything is put back in place, ready for the top piece to go down, but I should just mention that this little plastic piece, this plastic rotating piece here, is something that you can pop out, but you want to make sure that you twist it like this and pop it out the back. You just have to be really careful because you don't want to tear or crack your ribbon cable here. And of course, the ferrite needs to come out. And it's actually easier to put it together than open it, and I'll show you why. This is the back side of the front housing. You know, those little two squares go here. Of course, these two squares are for the trackball because you can have it on either side. Now, to open this LCD, once it's all closed up, you have to put a tool in the side. And there's a lot of bad information out there that tell you how to pry it open. You don't want to pry it open. Trust me, you don't want to pry it open. The service source document linked in the text description actually tells you the correct way. And you need to put a tool, a thin tool, into the side. And you're going to push against this piece of plastic because it's got a hook on it. And this is the latch that when you sufficiently push on it, then it will unlatch. But the thing is, this is plastic, it's aging plastic, so you don't want to push too hard. And if your tool is too short, you'll think, oh, I pushed, but it's not opening, and actually you didn't push enough. You're going to have to push it more. And it is a bit precarious because you're pushing against this plastic, so yeah, I don't know if we really want to open this and close it a lot, but you're going to have to do it on one side, and then you'll hear a little pop, and it'll come free, and then you'll have to do it again on the other side because you have the exact same latch here. And these are springs. You don't have to mess with these springs at all. These are on either side because you've got the handle, right? And the handle will press against it because, you know, when you push in on the handle to open the lid with the machine closed, it's got a kind of a springy action. Well, these are the springs. So we put the handle down first. You can see these rails here that the handle slides on. And then there are some plastic holes here and here. And that is for the hooks on the top side. So you need to, and it comes precariously close to this ribbon cable. And then after that, we have two screws up here. And when you put back in the screws, don't use too much force because it's plastic, of course, but they're also painted white, so you don't want to strip off the paint. And again, when it comes time to open it, there are little holes on each side, and you just push in your tool. And if you need a longer tool, then, you know, just use a longer tool and then push it in. You'll hear a pop, and do the other side, and you'll be able to slide it open. Before we can put everything else together, I wanted to show you the signatures of the design team on the bottom case. It's like what you see inside the earliest CRT Macs. One of these signatures looks like Tim Cook, but actually I think it's Jim Cook. Anyway, it's a nice tribute to those who brought this machine to life. This is the subframe assembly and is the most critical part of the entire machine because it holds everything together. Now, even though this and other portable plastics are made of very strong polycarbonate, the machine is more than 33 years old now, and some of the tabs get brittle and can break off. So it's not nearly as brittle as, say, an LC500 series Mac where you know, it pretty much falls apart when you look at it. It's not that bad, but you should still treat these Mac portable plastics with care. Sometimes bad handling is out of your control. When I first bought this machine, I noticed that this central area was cracked, and also part of the battery bay was also cracked, and I repaired both of those with super glue. But more recently, I discovered that the right side hinge holder had cracked clean through, and I have an extremely detailed thread on Tinker Different about what I went through to repair it. I spent a lot of time on this fix, but I'm not sure if it'll be durable over time. On the bottom side of the subframe assembly, we can see the main wiring harness, and I have it hidden away in this slot here because I'm not using it. Instead, I have what's called a Battery Eliminator card that I'll show you later. Here's my Model 5126 motherboard, which has 1 megabyte of pseudo-static RAM here, and this model eliminates the fragile ceramic hybrid board that normally is located in this area on the 5120. I paid Thomas Andrews of Amiga of Rochester to fully clean, recap, and do trace repairs on this board, and I think he did a great job. I chose him because of his experience repairing portables, and because I knew some trace repairs like this, all over the place, would be required. And I did not want to do that because I don't have experience with these boards. So I went to an expert. And if you're located in North America, KMac Vintage, JJ Dasher, TechNight, Mac 84, and others have experience doing this type of work. And Bruce Rain, based in Australia, is also experienced in portable repair as well. There was also a lot of work done in this area of the board which pertains to sound. Despite the fixes in this area though, my audio still sounds quite noisy, and I started a lengthy thread on Tinker Different about it, and the link to that is found in my spreadsheet, which you'll find in the video description. By the way, SCSI circuitry on this board does not provide termination power, so if you want to use an external BlueSCSI, you need to add a diode to the bottom of the board here, and I put a link to that information in my spreadsheet. The diode mod, which was done by TechNight, isn't needed for BlueSCSI installed internally. Now to put in the motherboard, we have to look at the bottom of the subframe assembly again, and look at the bottom of the motherboard, port side going this way, and there are some slots on this end here where the port side is, and then there are 2 tabs over here and 2 tabs over here that we have to contend with. So what we want to do is put in the board first, and there's little grooves near the ports to help you line up everything. And in addition to these tabs, there are tabs here, 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 and here. And there we go. Now to mount the subframe assembly and motherboard into the bottom case, we need to keep in mind that there are 2 tabs here that can move out, and then there's a main hook here. And to put in our subframe assembly, we need to, of course, put it in port side first, battery holder over here, and we're going to put it in at an angle, so the back side is down, the front side is up. Okay, so here's our tab here, and the other tab is over here. And then I'm looking on the back just to make sure my ports are okay, and they are. So now I'm going to push in on this tab while also pulling over here, this tab, and then pulling, and it snaps in. And there we go. Next we can put our speaker back in this location here. Note that there are 2 silicone O-rings on these 2 points where the speaker goes in, and I think they're there for shock damping. And then you have tabs on the side. Put it in here. So if your O-rings are missing, you can probably buy those on Amazon. And then the white connector goes into the red connector here. And now in no particular order I can install everything else. I'll start with the drives, and the floppy drive goes in first. And so long as you have it mounted in this metal bracket here with 4 pins on the sides, then it just drops right in. And by the way, you should put in the ribbon cable first before you do that. So you have to put it in like this, and there are little slots where those rivets go. And no screws. It just has gravity to hold it down. And check out my 1.44 megabyte floppy drive videos to learn how to clean and service your drive. Next we can have the hard drive. Now I still have the original one. This is the Connor that came with the machine, but it's loud, power hungry, generates heat, it's heavy, and it only lets you store 40 megabytes, which makes no sense at all today. So that's why I prefer the BlueSCSI version 2 drive instead. And you can see here this is mounted in the stock metal bracket. And I prefer this drive because, well, first of all, mine is a forked design that was created by Joachim Larsson, and who very graciously sent it to me. This is made specifically for the portable, and what's neat about it is that no SCSI cable adapter at all is needed. It's, again, made for the Macintosh Portable, but many of you have the normal BlueSCSI version 2, and that's absolutely fine because you can buy the cable and the cable adapter that you'll need for the regular BlueSCSI, and a 3D printed mounting bracket, which is what I'm using right now, which is inside the metal bracket. And you can buy that from the Joe's Computer Museum JCM web store, link in the video description. And while there's nothing necessarily bad about the kit cable, it's a little bit too stiff for my liking. So I purchased this much more soft and flexible cable with wires separated at each end. I purchased this on eBay, same exact connector, so that's what I'm going to be installing right now. And then note that there are two tabs, 1, 2. There are little hooks here that will go under the tabs. I should mention that because my BlueSCSI is an older version 2, even though it's version 2, there's different versions of version 2, which is kind of funny, but it's an older version, so I had to add 2 resistors to fix a wake from sleep problem, and you'll find a link to that in my spreadsheet. The floppy drive cable can go in here. This could accommodate 2 floppy drives, so that's why there's disk 1 and disk 2. So this is disk 1, and we'll put it into the far back connector here, there. And then we're not going to connect anything here, so we can plug in our SCSI hard drive here. And then this connector here will be the monitor. There we go. Next, before we put in the keyboard and trackball, I want to put in this little divider. Note that it's taller on this end, shorter here, and there's a plastic pin here. So the taller end goes in the back, and the pin goes in this hole, and you can put it over here or over here, depending on where you wish to have the trackball. So we'll go ahead and I'll put in the pin, and there it is. Very easy to do. And then I'll install the keyboard. You want to make sure that you keep in mind these tabs here down at the bottom, because the top part of them goes over the bottom part of this piece here. And keep in mind that this is a little indented section. You want to use that to line it up here. So I'm going to put it in at an angle. It's now slid under these tabs. Just make sure that through the holes at the top, you can see the plastic pins down below. No pins here, and a pin over here. And then there are these tabs at the back that it's going to snap into. And may take a little pushing. And there it is. And by the way, I removed all the keycaps and gave them a good toothbrush scrubbing with hot, soapy water. And I also de-yellowed the Spacebar using Retro Bright solution. And I used automotive tape to replace the decaying cushions under the Spacebar and the return and right side shift keys too. Again, all information that I'm talking about is in my spreadsheet. And the trackball goes in the same way with the connector at the top. And you've got the button here at the bottom, sliding it under these tabs here, lining it up with the holes, and then pushing it in until it snaps down. And by the way, my trackball rollers were absolutely awful when I got this machine. It just wouldn't roll around. But when I found an easy way to fix them, I gave it a shot. It's using cheap silicone tubing, and you'll find a link about that in my spreadsheet too, along with details about how I repaired my button, because the plastics were actually partially broken inside. And now we put in, note this little pull tab. You want to have it here, nearest the trackball. And then the other connector, put in the motherboard. And then the same thing over here for the keyboard. There we go. I'll now install my MacFX RAM card. And this offers up to 8 megabytes of RAM on the 5120 model, or up to 7 megabytes of RAM on the Backlit model, which is what I have. And sadly, you can't use more than 4 megabytes of RAM on cards like this, or your performance will drop a shocking 26%. I put a link to that in my spreadsheet. So even so, this particular card is no longer sold. Some of you may have one though. Have no fear, there is someone in the community who is working on a card that will give you all of the RAM with no performance hit. And when that's out, maybe we can have an announcement about it, but it's a pretty neat thing. But until then, if you can find one of these cards or something similar, specifically for the MacFX card, it's limited to 4 megabytes with the jumper on the back on. And I put a link to the manual for it. It's on Tinker Different, that you can download it. But if you want to have, you have to take off this jumper and just store it here. if you want to have the full RAM, then you're going to have to put the included wire. You can buy these on Amazon if you lose them, but you're going to have to put a wire, and then there's a specific point that you have to jumper the card. But again, you're going to have the performance hit on it, which I really don't like, so I'm going to limit my RAM, but I'm going to maximize my performance by doing it this way. And then you'll note that there's PDS, there's RAM, and then there's ROM. 3 slots in that order, PDS, RAM, and ROM. Pretty obvious that you don't want to put your card into the slot that says ROM, and you physically can't put it into the one that says PDS, but you can actually accidentally put it into ROM. So you just have to be a little bit careful and use some common sense. But there's these little grooved card holders here and here, and that's how you line it up. So obviously you're going to put in the tall part of the card towards the back, because you know that's the shape of the machine. And then just make sure your card is in those grooves, and it doesn't go down very much. And you might press on it and think, wow, doesn't it go down more? And it doesn't really go down much at all. But there it is, and it leaves the ROM slot open. And again, if you want more RAM, you can read the documentation to see which particular pin you need to connect it to. Now this is the battery bay. I do not have a battery, nor do I really want one. Instead, I power my portable with this. It is a fantastic solution created by Androda called the Portable Battery Eliminator, and you can buy it at the JCM web store. Now normally when you don't have this battery eliminator card, you must take great care never to use any AC adapter other than the stock adapter that came with your portable. Never, ever, ever use a PowerBook AC adapter. A lot of bad advice floated around about using those in the day, and you'll even see some portables that shipped with them, and you should be very cautious of buying those because they may be damaged. In fact, pretty much every portable has been damaged by using those adapters. It will fry multiple chips on your motherboard, and it's a very serious situation. So the good news is that if you buy a battery eliminator, you can use most any AC adapter that is 7.5 volt and rated for at least 1.5 amp or more. Now with the normal stock battery, you have to use the stock adapter, which is rated at exactly 1.5 amp. But with this card, so long as your adapter is 7.5 volt and 1.5 amp or more, you can plug it in, because you're going to be plugging in your AC adapter directly into this battery eliminator's socket, and you'll no longer be plugging it into the portable's AC adapter connector anymore. And the battery eliminator uses, you can see here, these are super capacitors. It uses them to work its magic, which is really neat. Now, one downside to using the battery eliminator is that your portable is not portable anymore. You're going to need a wall socket connection to use that, but this won't really matter to most people, I think, because it eliminates battery maintenance headaches. And so I think it's really great for most people. The other downside to the battery eliminator is that the computer thinks you're on battery power only when you use the eliminator, and so any software that won't work while on battery power will have issues with the battery eliminator. So for example, this computer will eventually go to sleep even though you're plugged into AC when using the battery eliminator, and that may be a problem for you, but later I'll show you software to get around that problem. The last downside to the eliminator is that you cannot use the PRAM battery. Normally a 9-volt battery goes right here. You cannot use that anymore. So if you kill power to the machine, your PRAM is going to get reset. By the way, if you don't have a battery eliminator and you just have a normal lead-acid battery, you have to put this battery cover back on the machine. And if you forget and don't do it, then your machine will shut down. But before you put in your lead-acid battery, make sure that you have a fresh 9-volt PRAM battery before you install your lead-acid battery. Now this eliminator installs in the modem slot, so it's the farthest slot towards the battery bay. Then your battery hole is in the back, so you can plug in your power. Okay, and then you can see the main power connector. Normally you would use the computer's main wiring harness, which I have hidden away because I'm not going to use the lead-acid battery. And instead you're going to plug in the connector from your portable battery eliminator, if you have one, of course. Next, I'll reinstall the LCD. By the way, I was able to open, clean, and lubricate the metal parts inside these hinges by following an excellent video from Tech Night. To do that, you have to pinch this part here with pliers and then push the innards out. But even after lubing, it's still impossible to twist with my hands, even using all my might. They're supposed to be tight to keep the LCD up at any angle, but I think my hinges are too tight, and that tightness probably led to my right side hinge holder cracking. So when putting it on, just be careful that there's a protruding piece of gray plastic that sticks up here, and so you don't want to shove it on sideways and crack this off. So what I will do is I will put in this left side hinge, so I know approximately keep it at an angled position. All right, this hinge is in there. And then do the other one. And then these plastic tabs, make sure that your hinges don't accidentally come out. And then after your tab is in there, and only after, you can, in the end, put on your caps. And of course the slit is to accommodate the part where it connects to the machine. And it just snaps on. I then reconnected the cable to the motherboard. Next, we can put the main keyboard bezel back on. And now to test my hinge holder fix for the very first time, I'm going to close the LCD. Well, at least for that first close, it held. And now we can put on the back. And on back, we can see the full complement of ports. I'm not going to use the AC adapter port here anymore because I have the battery eliminator. Audio, you've got modem, printer, ADB. This is the modem slot. Nobody uses modems anymore, right? So that's where the battery eliminator goes, and you plug your AC adapter in here. And then we've got SCSI, floppy drive, and the video output that Apple never made an adapter for, but which you can buy today at the JCM, yeah, you guessed it, JCM web store. The machine certainly has an interesting design. You can even sit it on its back side like this. And although it has a handle, I would advise against using it because it's going to put even more strain on these fragile hinge holders. And a lot of portables these days are missing some of the rubber feet, and I was able to 3D print in nylon at JLC replacement feet. It probably would be best to do TPU, but JLC had some restrictions, so I couldn't do that. That's why I went with nylon. TPU is softer and it's much more easy to remove them. But when you're opening the portable, this is your first place to go. You do not have to remove this foot. You need to remove this one and this one so that you can insert a tool into the middle hole of the three. And there's a latch in there that you have to push on, and that, of course, that you have to open the screen first, but it will open that keyboard panel, which will start to allow you to fully disassemble the machine. And then on the left side, almost hidden out of view, you've got your interrupt and restart buttons. And then there's this slide switch that can lock the buttons so you won't be able to press them by accident. And the very bottom of the machine shows that the M5126 is molded into the plastic. I think the 5120 had stickers instead. Thomas Andrews recapped my portable power adapter, and I strongly recommend you get yours recapped too, even if it works, because there's a lot of leaked capacitor fluid inside, and that eats away at traces. Many of them require trace repair as well. I forgot to mention, but you have to remove this little jumper here on the battery eliminator. This is the discharge jumper, and in order to charge it, you have to remove that. Now I'm going to plug in the AC adapter into the eliminator, and it will now take 1.5 minutes to charge up these supercapacitors, so don't start your machine until that time is expired. Here is the protective soft case that Apple included with every portable sold. If you ever see a portable sold today without this bag, it means that the seller either removed it or the case wasn't included when he got the machine from somebody else. You really do need a case of some sort, though, to protect the machine when in storage or when it's being transported. Most cases are missing at least 1 foot these days, and mine was no exception. Thankfully, I was able to get a 3D printed replacement, and that fits right here. I linked the STL file for you in the video description and in my spreadsheet, and I wasn't able to screw or bolt it on, so I used the original JB Weld 24-hour cure, and so far it's not fallen off. On the inside, the case is pretty nice. It has some storage here and also here. This central area has these straps because this is where you would normally put a spare battery. Then you can put your mouse and other accessories. This is a low power mouse, by the way, drawing only 5 milliamps compared to about 70 milliamps for a regular mouse, and this is denoted by this circular logo in the lower right corner of the sticker area. Not necessary if you use the battery eliminator because the portable won't break if you use a high-powered mouse, but it's really great to save power if you're running off the battery. Now with the battery eliminator charged, all I need to do to start the machine is press any key except caps lock. And I'll just press the spacebar here. And we get the bong. And then it's now checking memory. And after it checks the memory, it will boot from the internal BlueSCSI. And you won't be able to see the screen until the backlight comes on because it's extremely dim. That diffuser really eats up all of the light. And now the backlight came on. But the backlight is very, very dim. And that's why I have my overhead desk lamp turned off. I'm only having my one ceiling light turned on, and so it's a little bit dark here, because if I turn on my desk light, then the computer itself will be like this, a lot brighter than the screen. So I'm turning off the desk light so you can actually see the screen. If we take a look here in the control panels, actually I already have them open, we can use the portable control panel or the brightness. Either way, it's going to give us the brightness control. There's a slider, and we can see it's already set to max. So yeah. Also, you can kind of see I have everything color balanced, so you should be able to see the same yellowish tinge that I'm seeing. I've seen a lot of photos of portables online where it looks a little bit of bluish. And I don't know if that's a different backlight or if they have a better backlight or what. Maybe yellow means it's a sign that your backlight's about to go out. I don't really know. But as you can see, mine is a bit yellowish. Now, compatible system software is from 6.0.4 to 7.5.5. And if I do about this Macintosh, you can see that this is system software 7.1 right now. But you can only go up to 7.5.5 and the higher end versions of System 7 if you have enough RAM. And without any RAM card at all you have is 1 megabyte, so you need to stick with System 6. And even though 6.0.4 does technically work, I strongly suggest you use System 6.0.5 or newer because 6.0.4 has a bug that affects the portable. If you enable AppleTalk and then choose shutdown, the SCC chip will never sleep. And that will drain a lead acid battery dead in 4 days. So it won't matter so much with a battery eliminator, but it still would waste power. And that's why I strongly recommend when you're using a portable that you use 6.0.5 or higher. You can also read in my spreadsheet the Apple Till articles that I've linked for you because they cover a variety of important topics, including how to disable rest mode. And with the portable extension, you have to hold down the Option key, and then you click Minutes until automatic sleep, and that'll bring up this dialog box, and basically it says rest will be enabled by default. It's kind of like a waking slow power mode, not quite sleep mode, but it can slow things down like animation. So you want to make sure that unless you want to say battery and you're on a battery, you want to turn rest off to be assured that you're always going to get maximum performance. And even though it says minutes until automatic sleep, you can set that, but the disadvantage of the battery eliminator is in making the computer think it's running purely on battery power. So if you want to keep your portable awake for up to 1 hour, you need to use an optional program called PB Tools. And again, I've got it linked for you in the video description. And if we open up PB stands for PowerBook, which also applies to this Mac Portable as well. These PB Tools will let you, it says running on battery power, system sleep, drive sleep, backlight dim. Unfortunately, system sleep and drive sleep, the maximum setting is only 60 minutes, 1 hour. Everything else you've got up to infinity that you can set it. So that's the best that can be done using this particular software. But maybe one of you hackers out there can work some magic and give us an infinite time limit if you hack into PB Tools. But for now, I think 60 minutes, you know, it's not too bad. If you're filming something for a long period of time, it's nice to have a longer period of time with the battery eliminator before it actually goes to sleep. So again, this is one way to get around that limitation of the battery eliminator, because the computer thinks it's running on battery, and that will give you up to 1 hour of use. And here is the computer booted off of the tour disk for the Macintosh Portable. It's very similar to the original Mac Tour, if you've ever experienced that little picturesque town, except it was reworked for the Mac Portable, showing people using, what do you know, not a compact Mac, but a Macintosh Portable, which is kind of neat. And of course, they redid all of the artwork, because this screen is larger than the CRT compact Macs. And you basically get to do many of the same things. Instead of a mouse, it's going to teach you how to do, how to use the trackball, how to point and click, and all of the basics for how to use the computer. And this is new. You get a nice train here. Everybody in the train is using a Macintosh Portable, which is kind of funny. This guy down here is using a Macintosh Portable. This lady at the information desk is also using a Macintosh Portable. And you've got this nice menu to go through different things. So I'm not going to obviously go through all of it with you, but this is a fun little tutorial. And here I am booted into System 6, and we can see that it has 5 megabytes of total memory, and largest unused block 4.3. So that's because of the MacUFX card and me using only 4 megabytes of the card combined with the 1 megabyte on board. This is a 16 megahertz 68,000 processor, so it's twice as fast as a Macintosh SE, and it's not going to really affect the performance of too many games, but it'll be a little bit snappier overall. And right now I'm sitting fairly close to the computer, and I have the volume turned up to max. So you can see it doesn't go edge to edge, because this animated area really is formatted to fit the CRT Mac screen height and width. And of course there's no shades of gray or anything like that, but this particular game works fine on black and white Macs. The artwork is absolutely beautiful in 2-bit, or 1-bit. Oops. And of course, it's a full-fledged Mac, so it can run productivity software like Photoshop. This is version 1.1, which is reasonably lightweight. And this is how I prepare things to film. When I want to show something on the display, I create the artwork, and then I can use it to fill screen. And then I make sure it's zoomed in appropriately, and then I can press the tab key to remove the tools, and ta-da! There it is. So that's just a trick if you want to show something on a computer screen and fill the whole screen. Photoshop is a nice piece of software to do that. And within System 6, when you open the control panels, they of course look different than System 7, but you can see that the screen brightness is turned up. This is again the portable control panel there. And for some reason there's some noise on mine, and so I would hear a popping sound every 10 seconds. And a very nice gentleman on the Tinker Different forum modified this version on Macintosh Garden to eliminate that pop, at least under System 6. So we're not hearing that noise right now. But just to show you, when you completely turn off the backlight, how dim it gets. And then at minimum brightness, that's what you get here. And if I slowly go up, that's max. And that's pretty much it. Any other piece of software I could show you is really not too dissimilar from a CRT Mac. It's just You have a little bit more screen real estate and twice the clock speed with the Macintosh Portable. I have to admit, this is the most fiddly vintage Mac I have ever owned. So much to fix, and I'm still not sure what to do about my dim backlight. But it's also a fantastic first that holds a special place in my heart. Sure, it's not very portable, but neither was the first and lightest PowerBook by today's standards. Consider well, this is an Apple Silicon 16-inch MacBook Pro. This machine weighs less than the PowerBook 100. That's how far we've come. Pretty incredible. But there's another thing that makes this little guy very special to me. I purchased this from a gentleman by the name of Michael Mullet, who passed away unexpectedly in February 2024. He was only a few years older than I am. I considered Michael to be a friend. Michael had a very large collection of vintage Macs and always enjoyed talking about them with me, showing me photos and videos, and I enjoyed those times very much. I think Michael will be sorely missed by everyone who knew him. I'd like to publicly thank Bobby Walker for having driven far out of his way to go meet with the family of Michael in order to take possession of this machine that I purchased from Michael on my behalf. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you so much. And I'd also like to thank Mark Jozaitis of Mac Effects, who received the machine from Bobby and shipped it along to me here in Japan. Both of you gentlemen are absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. I'd also like to thank all of you for watching this long video today and for sticking with it and watching until the end. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments, especially if you own a portable. Now, you're probably wondering what this little thing is up here. Of course, it's the word hello, but this is the friendly greeting that Apple used to advertise the very first Macintosh. And you can find some STL files for something quite similar online if you want to print it yourself. But I don't have a 3D printer, and so I normally use JLC 3DP, but they won't print all the colors. Yeah, you could use them to print it in a drab all black or something like that, and they might look good in some situations, but I wanted the colors. And even if you own a printer, you'd have to buy 6 different filaments. So what I did is I looked on a lot of different websites, and I found a fellow by the name of Max on Etsy. I normally don't buy from Etsy, but I found Max, and I looked at the photos. They were showing something very high quality, and I decided to purchase it. And when I bought it, and even looking up very close, I mean, it's a great PLA print, and he bonded it together. And normally I have it sitting on top of my original iPhone, the framed iPhone at home, but I think it would look equally as good if you want to put it on a desk or maybe even as a Christmas tree ornament. Because Max is located in the UK, if you're based in the United States, there would probably be some tariffs, but the selling price is pretty low, so that probably won't matter. I think it's a fun piece of Apple history, and I've linked it for you in the video description below. Until my next video, folks, take care, and I wish all of you a very Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.
Facilitez votre embarquement, de bien vouloir rester assis en attendant l'appel du numéro de siège figurant sur votre carte financière.
Introducing the first portable computer you already know how to use.
Excuse me. It's my computer. I seem to be having trouble. I know nothing about computers.
I'm sorry. I don't know anything about computers either.